The divisional previews are brought to you by Chinook Seedery, the best seeds ever. Use our promo code CoachesSonsPod at checkout to get 10% off. On to the show.
Hit it.
Welcome to the Coach's Sons podcast. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Chris.
And you are listening to the Division Preview Series. So today we're going to talk about the AL East. Now, whether this is your first series or your sixth, I'm going to explain real quick on how we're going about it. Chris and I are going to give our, let's say, 1,000-foot view, look of who we think is going to win, who we think is going to play a big role within the division itself, and who we think is going to, suck. After that, we're going to get out of our echo chamber and we're going to listen to other fans and friends of these teams that we just don't know a lot about. We'll let them make the case, and at the very end, we'll see if our minds have been changed. Chris, are you ready for this?
Let's let it rip.
Okay, so let's start with who do we think is going to win this division? Chris, I've been talking a lot. I'll let you go first.
I'll start. So this is going to contradict what I said on Buds and Blue Jays.
Oh, he's already
podcast.
flipping.
However, the terms have changed. There's been new information.
Tuck that tail, Chris.
There's been new information. On that podcast, I chose the New York Yankees. They have since potentially losing. I say potentially, but doesn't look good on Garrett Cole.
Does not look good.
Looks like elbow injury is catching up to him.
Here comes Tommy John.
Yeah, I don't love it.
Yeah,
and that's a big
bad.
blow.
That's a bad sign.
They have guys to trade, and they can get better again. However, as it stands right now, today, I'm making my pick the Boston Red Sox.
There we go.
I'm going with the Boston Red Sox as the best team in the division to win it. That is my pick. I don't know where I'll end up putting the Yankees, and I don't even know how much, when we get the previews, it's kind of tough because nobody really knows what's going to happen with Garrett Cole.
Right.
So I'm sure they tried to incorporate it, and the idea is they're going to trade for somebody. But again, Red Sox feel the most complete as of this particular moment in time. I'm going to go with them. Do you want me to pick my worst, or do you want to give your best?
I'll give my best.
Right.
So if you did watch the Buds and Blue Jays podcast or listen to it, I picked the Red Sox already. I think that their pitching staff is legitimate. I think that their lineup has very little holes. Now, they don't have the studs, say, like the Yankees do, but they, from top to bottom, have the most potential. But that starting rotation is nasty. So, now look, the Yankees are still good. They still got Max Fried over there. Like, the Yankees you cannot sleep on them. But this definitely makes the case for the Red Sox even greater than it already was. So, we're in agreement there that it's going to be the Red Sox. Now, bottom dwellers. I think, based off the podcast, I had the Blue Jays as last. I want to say the Rays because I just look at their lineup. I'm like, I just don't know who any of these people are. But the Rays, like we've talked about ad nauseum, figure it out. I don't know how they do it, but they always seem to figure it
together.
out.
They always do it. And the Blue Jays have names.
Yes.
Whether or not those names are still capable of doing what they've done in the past.
Yeah.
Feels...
I'm really afraid of their rotation being too old and
I don't think
I
don't think they'll get enough pop out of that lineup.
Yeah.
Maybe Santander and Jimenez make it change.
Right.
It's possible. So I'd love to be proven wrong, but I'm going to also pick the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
But I'm not
guys.
far away from the Rays being right there. It's just
it should be the Rays. Like,
until they win 70 games in a season,
right.
And you're like, all right, they're done. Then I'm never going to be able to give up on them.
Figure out how to get 50-50. Like I don't. It makes no sense. The Rays should be as bad as the A's and the White Sox. They should be, right, just based off the names. But somehow they just continue to crank out great seasons. I do wonder, is the change of scenery, because they're not going to have Tropicana Field, right? So
yeah, they'll be in the
Yankees spring training. I wonder if that changes things. I don't know.
I have no data as to.
Right,
I would assume
none of us
more
do.
Of a hitter's haven than it will be.
True. Is it built just like Yankee Stadium?
I have no idea. I don't have the slightest idea on that. But
we'll have to do some more research.
Yeah,
but
that's a hand up moment. However, I feel like pitchers will be stressed more than the hitters, so maybe their hitting gets a little bit of a bump. I don't know. So maybe that does play a bigger factor than we're leading on to, but I still am going to put the Blue Jays down there as of right now. Maybe
it's unfortunate.
Jessie Squared could change my mind.
Yeah,
we'll
I mean, look, Jessie Squared, like, sorry, ahead of time. It's just the Blue Jays have more to prove, and they just haven't. So it's tough to believe in them. All right, so both are on Red Sox. Both are on Blue Jays, top and bottom. Who do we think is the most impactful player in the entire division? So, like, MVP candidate, Cy Young candidate, if we want to, whatever that looks like. But who do you think is the most influential person in this division?
It's Aaron Judge, right?
Yeah,
and you can't not mention Aaron Judge.
So I agree with you. I think Judge is the main. I think Gunnar could make a case if he has another really good season, because I mean he obviously had some really good numbers last year. I don't think he's going to be better than Judge. But here's the deal, and we talked about this some already. If Judge doesn't have Soto.
Well, not if he does not have Soto.
No, I know, but like we haven't really seen like a season in a while without him, right? So if he doesn't have that protection, does he have the same numbers? And that's my question to you. Do you think he has the ability to put up the same type of crazy numbers?
Yes, he did it before Soto. He will do it after Soto.
Do you think he has MVP type season this year again?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it, but he will.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah.
See, I think he'll take a step back, but I don't know.
You think that, and then he doesn't. He'll hit 20 home runs in April and May, and you'll be like, oh shit.
No, that's true. That's true.
I guess.
Well, I mean, if they give him the juice
guy.
balls again like they did last year, right? But now you can pitch around him, and why would you not? Especially with like Stanton has what they are calling severe elbow problems, so. I feel like he's not going to have as much protection. So I think he's going to take a step back, but I still think he'll be great. The other name I do want to bring up that I think is Cy Young level is going to be Crochet.
Naturally.
No, but I think he's like Screwball level good. Can be. And I think the AL could have two like unbelievable studs battling it out all year with him and Screwball. So I want to make sure I mention Crochet because I think he's going to have an elite type season. So those are, I think, my two top impact players.
He's following the Chris Sale career trajectory.
He is. Yeah, that's true.
As
that's
far
right.
as Braves fan, I know this isn't NL East, but as far as Braves fan go, you have to be feeling a little good about that, right?
You have to.
In like
100%.
8 years, he'll be a Brave, maybe.
I can't wait.
Or however long that was. But
can't wait till he
he's
becomes
a
a
huge impact. He slots right in. He's your ace. He's your guy. They're going to go as he goes. Now, mind you, they have a deep rotation, but it's not as star-studded past him, right? Walker Buehler, Bello, Hawk, whatever the hell.
Crawford, all those guys are, but those guys pitch so well. Yeah.
Correct. They had a good year last year, but now they add Crochet. He's at the top of the board, but Grayson, I think, might be ready for opening day. They need him, but other than that, it sucks to say nobody on the Orioles is going to give you that. They don't have Corbin Burns anymore. In the Yankees do have Max Fried, so let's not sleep on him.
No,
he stays healthy. He's right up there with Crochet, honestly. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. And I hate preview so much in the way of, well, if they stay healthy and if that. So I'm going to operate under the assumption that everybody stays healthy. I'm not even going to use that disclaimer anymore. This person's healthy.
That's a very fair perspective. Yeah. So let's try not to. I mean, unless someone is hurt, like Cole, for an example, hurt, right? So,
yeah. He's actively injured.
That's so
different.
we can definitely go by that. But for everyone else, I think it's fair that we just assume they will be healthy throughout the year.
That's what I'm going to go with.
That's the only fair way to do this. So, okay, Chris, with that in mind, we are going to get into the preview. So what we've done, if you, again, first time listening, 6th time, 20th, who cares? What we do is we have a fan of said team give their 2 to 3 minute spiel on why they believe or don't believe, to be quite honest with you. We're going to listen in, and we're going to see if our minds get changed. And at the end of all of these previews, we are going to come back and go, okay, how do we feel? Let's look at the over-unders. Do we feel better or worse now that we've had these opinions outside of our echo chamber? And we'll go from there. So we're going to start off with the Blue Jays. Chris, go ahead and introduce our friend who's going to talk through the Blue Jays.
Toronto Blue Jays. It's I call them Jessie Squared. So we got Jesse Burrell and Jesse Teresiio of the Buds and Blue Jays podcast. Their X is at Buds Jays. So let's jump into it.
Hit it.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Andrew. Love the show. Jessie B and Jessie T from Buds and Blue Jays. Thank you for having us. The Toronto Blue Jays are entering a very critical year for the franchise, as it our last season with both Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr. under team control. After ending last season with just 74 wins and finishing last in the AL East, this team has made it quite clear they want to get better this offseason.
In the offseason, the Jays have brought in Max Scherzer, Jeff Hoffman, Andreas Jimenez, Anthony Santander, and brought back Old Faithful Yimi Garcia into the fold, and only said goodbye to really Spencer Horwitz and Jordan Romano in the offseason.
Yeah, on paper, we did get better, and it is a really high variance team. If Vlad can put up another MVP-like season, if Bo can bounce back to the all-star level player we know he can be, then it should be better than the team that finished 23rd in runs scored last season, which was worse than Chris's Seattle Mariners. The team is also relying on a ton of young but MLB-ready players to step into big roles, and if one of them, like Orelvis Martinez, Addison Barger, Alan Rodin, Joey Loperfido, Will Wagner, if one of them click, this offense could be better than we think it is on paper.
The Jays will also be relying on a veteran-led rotation with the likes of Max Scherzer, Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, and Jose Barrios, and they will having the only pitcher under 30 in Ballard Hanson, who's 28. But they are waiting for the returns of Alec Manoah and Ricky Tiedemann in later part of this season.
Yeah, so on paper, the pitching staff should be okay. It's the Blue Jays bullpen, which was one of the worst in franchise history last season, and just by law of averages alone, should take a step forward and be closer to a league average team, which on paper makes me think the Blue Jays might be better than we think going forward.
And if everything goes well, the Jays could possibly be between 82 and 87 wins and be pushing for that third wild card, because the American League East is one of the scariest ones in the league.
I think it's worth noting, though, too, if the Blue Jays do not get off to a hot start and they kind of go south early in the season, then we could be looking at a very big sell-off here. Chris Bassett traded, Scherzer traded, Vlad traded, Bo traded, and this could look like a very different team come the second half. There might not be a team in baseball where the getting off to a hot start matters more than this year's Toronto Blue Jays team.
And if it goes south, you got to let the kids play.
That's right. And then look forward for the next core of Toronto Blue Jays baseball. Chris, Andrew, love the show. Thank you for having us. Let's go Blue Jays, and we'll talk again soon.
Have a good one.
Hit it.
All right, so that was the Buds and Blue Jays. Thank you guys so much for that. When you base hope on the law of averages, that's usually not a good thing. So, look, I want the Blue Jays to be good for these guys, but we've already picked them as not. That pitching, top to bottom, the fact that they're all so damn old, the fact that the bullpen is coming off the worst performance they've ever had, those are very, very big mountains they have to overcome. I love the optimism. I want them to keep that, and I want it for them. And here's the deal. We've seen that those studs can play. And if those kids can play too, there is technically a route there. But that's a tough one to see. Those are some rosy colored glasses to get to that. So that's my opinion. Again, I want it for them. I can't get there. I just can't get there.
One thing I didn't even really consider when I've already put them at the bottom of the division is the sell-off that could be coming. So if, to their point, if they don't start off fast near around All-Star break, these guys are gone. If they
Vlad
can't,
specifically, right? I mean,
they're not going to be able to re-sign him, it seems.
Yeah.
So
why not?
You should try to get something. Same with Bo Bichette. I doubt he probably wants to change the scenery as it is. He's been in trade rumors for the past 2 seasons. And then if the rest of the team is struggling and any of those quote unquote older starters are performing, and that goes for Scherzer. I know Scherzer has a no trade clause, but that's basically the, hey, send me here, and that works.
Exactly.
So starting with him, right, if he has a resurgence again, he's gone. Same with Bassett. Same with potentially Gausman. I don't know what his deal looks like on the back end, but ultimately these guys you could be looking at a quad A baseball team by the end of the season.
Yeah.
And yes, they still have George Springer. They still have Santander, and I love Santander, and he's going to hit some home runs for them. So I think your opinion might change based on the I love the point of this is how they get started. If they get started early, I don't have very much faith in Bowden Francis, but I know he's middle of the rotation, end of the rotation. But same thing, I already lost faith in Bassett and in Gausman and so on and so forth. And if that rotation, the bullpen,
bad.
We're just hoping that things change year to year in a bullpen, right?
Yeah,
you could be really bad, you could be really good, change of scenery, you become a star again. I don't know how that happens, but it does. So maybe they did get Jeff Hoffman. That's a big deal.
Yep.
Closing out games for them. So maybe it does improve, but I don't know if there's been a lot of, at least in my head, maybe it's true, but hey, our bullpen got better. Now we're a playoff team.
Yeah.
I don't think they're a bullpen away from
they're
that.
not. Yeah, they're absolutely not.
I guess that's my bigger point. Yariel Rodriguez. I'm just trying to look at some of the guys I may not have touched on, and I don't. Their minor league system is not good. They're ranked in near the lowest. Or Elvis Martinez is their guy. He's coming back from steroid suspension. I'm not convinced to move them at all. I hope they move up, but even so, they're fourth? We swap them in the Rays potentially?
Yeah, I mean, the Rays are the only team that I think can challenge them for the bottom feeders, unfortunately.
I'm forgetting about Jose Barrios. I've been forgetting him for a while.
Yes, you have.
He's good, and I don't know what his contract looks like, but maybe he's one of those that end up on a block too.
I mean, look, end all be all, the Blue Jays could look at their farm system and go, well, and if they start slow, we have to do something, and that's what happens. And good for them. I mean, the reset stuff sucks, but it is what it is. Every team goes through that cycle occasionally. So we will see what happens with the Blue Jays. So, all right, moving on. The Baltimore Orioles.
All right, we've got RDT from Barstool to do our Orioles preview. That's at EDITTI22. It's the worst name, worst Twitter handle of all time. But
we've told him that too. So
yes, yeah. He's well aware. It's a running joke with Baseball's Dead as well. But we've got RDT. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Hit it.
After getting swept out of the playoffs again in 2024, the Orioles are looking to bounce back in 2025 in a big way and hopefully get back to that AL East title. They can and will do that if they can avoid the injury bug. It's what happened to them last year. They were very, very unlucky with injuries in that second half. They saw multiple people go down. Grayson went down. Mountcastle was hurt for a while. Westberg with the broken hand until pretty much the playoffs. That just really, really drained them. Adley did not look right either. That was just the name of the game. They cannot stay healthy. Mateo being out was obviously a huge blow too. Kyle Bradish in the rotation. Felix Bautista coming into the season. They were just hammered by injuries last year. If they can stay healthy this year, I think, and again, I really do think that they will win the AL East title. They got Adley Rutschman, who again did not look like himself in the second half. Whatever was going on with him, it looks like it is completely gone. He's been killing the ball in spring training. He looks great. He showed up to camp in great shape. Again, he said he's fresh. He's ready to go. He's a big part of the team. So is Felix Bautista. He was out all of last year, the best closer in baseball when he's healthy. The big guy was sorely missed last year as we watched Craig Kimbrell blow all of those saves and just absolutely kick you right in the nuts night after night after night. Felix being back will be massive for this team. That makes the bullpen that much better. Again, it kind of settles down everybody's roles that were not really set in stone last year. That's going to happen this year. Everyone's going to know what they're doing. Felix in the ninth is just as good as it gets. So him coming back is huge. Same thing getting these guys back. Jordan Westberg, like I said, he missed a couple months with his broken hand towards the end of the season. That really, the offense really fell apart after he went down. It was not a well-oiled machine after that. Westberg just makes the lineup so much better. Makes everything, just flow so smoothly, so especially in the field. But again, he's back. You're going to look for another MVP type season from Gunnar Henderson. He came in fourth last year, arguably top three. again, I mean, I'm looking for him to just take another step, and it's scary to think about that. He almost hit 40 home runs as a 21-year-old shortstop last year. That doesn't happen. Again, he's going to take a step up, as is Colton Cowser, second in Rookie of the Year last year. Everybody just wants to talk about the broken hand in the playoffs, swinging at that ball that was going to hit him. He's going to put that past him. He's going to move on. I got all the confidence in the world in him that he'll be an all-star player this year. We know what kind of player he is. He's a special, special talent. So I'm looking for him to take another step up. Same with Jackson. Jackson looks great in the offseason. Again, you've read all the articles. He gained like 13 pounds eating just ground beef. He's 200 pounds of just twisted steel. The guy he's really a machine. He's hitting the cover off the ball in spring too. So I'm looking for a big jump up from Jackson this year. And then again, you're looking for some of these other guys from the young guys, Kobe Mayo, Heston Kjerstad, who's going to come out of camp there. Heston's hitting the crap out of the ball as well. Again, Tyler O'Neill his arms are they're incredible. He has Saquon Barkley thighs as arms. He hits bombs. So again, him added to the outfield to replace Anthony Santander will be a big help. Again, we're looking for a lot of bombs there. Plus, moving the wall in left field is such a big. It's just massive for guys like Ramon Urias, Ryan Mountcastle, who's going to love seeing that wall come in. So again, big year if the guys can stay healthy, if Grayson can stay healthy, if Eflin can stay healthy, and just this offense. These guys are so young and they're still so good, but we just need them to stay healthy. You need Jordan Westberg to have a full 162. I mean, he's a robot who was put on this earth just to play baseball. So again, I'm excited for him. Ryan O'Hearn's going to keep hitting. They just have a lot of guys. They're really, really, really deep. This bench is going to be an absolute weapon no matter who's coming off it. It's going to be a very fun team to watch. Again, the young guys are not so young anymore. They're maturing, but it is time to, the regular season doesn't really matter. It's what can you do in the playoffs. They haven't done anything. 10 straight playoff losses, swept out of the playoffs in back-to-back years. So, we're fine with regular season wins and stats, obviously, but this fan base is very hungry for a playoff win, a playoff series win, and I think this is the year they do it. I think they can, again, take the AL East. I'm hoping for an ALCS run. Again, I think they have the talent to do so. They also still have the prospects to make a big trade for a pitcher to replace Corbin Burns, again, sometime in the season, which I think they'll do. So it's going to be tough for the Yankees. They rebounded. They added Fried, some of those other guys. They lost Soto. It's going to be a dogfight with them. Boston's better too. So again, this AL East is not going to be decided very early. It's probably going to go down to the last day, and I think the Orioles are right there with the Yankees, and I think they can take the AL East title.
Hit it.
All right. Thank you very much, RDT. That was the Orioles preview from him. That's almost what I want every single one of these to be going forward. I want all the positive and overlook anything that could be possibly negative, because at no point in that conversation did I hear anything about the rotation being iffy. And I don't know if he just doesn't believe it to be a problem, or if he believes that the lineup is that solid to make up for any gaffes that there could be in the pitching rotation. But I just don't think it can be overlooked. I do think the lineup is very good. Gunner's young, star, Cowser, second in Rookie of the Year. He mentioned it. Westberg back, supposedly healthy. He loves Westberg, so I guess I have to be on board. I know he had a very good year, but
that's a name. Yep.
However, he was, very good. Losing Santander feels like a big deal.
It does.
40 plus homers, but Tyler O'Neill is almost similar. He's not going to hit 40 home runs, but he is a power guy, but he is on the right-hand side of the plate as opposed to the switch hitter.
Yep.
So I think he could replace a little bit of that, not 100%, maybe 75%, and maybe that's all they want to do in assuming everybody else is going to be fine. But back to the rotation. The other positive, Felix Batista is back, and he looks
huge.
Good thus far.
Yeah, that's huge.
I know we just came off the back of me saying, hey, if the bullpen, if that's what we're talking about, then you've got other problems. However, it was noticeable in that guys weren't comfortable in their roles. Roles, not rows. Roles.
I'm following you.
All
Following you.
Cano didn't really do particularly well in the closer role. They need to define. They tried Kimbrel. He's obviously
he's over
not
the hill.
He's not what he was at all. Everybody knew that, but Bautista coming back should prove huge dividends for these guys. I know they're probably going to take it easy. He's not going to pitch probably back to back. He's not going to pitch multiple innings. So it's just going to put people back in roles. I agree with that notion. But again, I keep coming back to I don't trust the rotation.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah. I think, when I look at rotations in this division, the Blue Jays to me is the most volatile given their age. But I do believe that the Orioles are up there when it comes to volatility just because we don't know who's actually going to step up for these guys. And they signed Old Man Morton.
I like him, but
yeah, but he's been on his last season for the last 4 seasons with the Braves. When that's your number 3, that's tough, right? And we did the same thing for a few years. So I will say, unlike the Blue Jays, the Orioles have potential to have a very deep lineup that will keep them into games. And then you turn it over to a absolute stud in Bautista, and that's great, right? So that's their path to
score runs.
Score a bunch of runs, give it to Bautista, and he'll close it out 5-6. You know what I mean?
That's fine.
That's how they're going to win games. The Blue Jays don't have that. The Orioles do have that. Now, if these kids start having their slumps, because it happens to everybody, or you become an absolute stud and you're forever considered one of the greatest, right? So if that happens at the same time, the Orioles are going to be in a lot of trouble. End all be all. I don't think that's going to happen, but we were all very high on the Orioles last year, and they proved baseball was hard, and we have to reset our expectations of this team. So 2 years ago, the Orioles had potential through the roof for a dynasty, and now I'm like, okay, well, now that we've seen a full year, maybe that's not the case. They can definitely compete. 100%.
They won 91 games. What was bad about it? They didn't win the division, but they won 91 games.
Yeah,
they made the
but
playoffs.
then they got swept in the playoffs because they're kids. Yeah. So that's the thing. I think that I was thinking dynasty, but we got reminded that they're kids, right? So they still have that potential. That's what I'm saying. The Orioles have potential to be very, very good. But the pitching is just... And maybe they make a play. Maybe they, like you said all last year, they have the deepest.
They still have them.
They still have the deepest farm system. Make a trade. Get that heart. That I'm surprised they didn't get any of the big pitchers, but it is what it is. The Orioles have potential to be very, very good. To me, their best and worst is the biggest gap. I can see them winning as little as 84, 85, or as 82 games, and as many as 95, right? So that their variance is the biggest for me, and it's because of the pitching. So
yeah, I think the young, again, we're eating words a lot, but injuries are happening for them right now. Grayson, we're not really sure. I think he's going to end up being okay, but they need him to be okay. He needs to be the ace for now, and as the season goes on, they're going to need to make a play, so it seems. They're going to have to trade some of these young guys that are highly ranked and try and improve this major league roster. Kobe Mayo is not up yet. He's supposed to be a bopper. We're going to see what his deal is. I don't know if he's supposed to make the team out of spring or not. And remember, for the beginning part of last year, Jackson Holliday really didn't do much. He proved, he was
still
kid,
has potential
wasn't
to be a
ready.
stud. Yeah.
So he's, everybody's writing him off. He's still 19, 20 years old. So it's not like he's washed. He just had a rough start to his
Welcome
career.
to the majors.
Yeah, and I think he's fine. This guy, I hope, I'm going to say from Japan, Sagano. I don't know exactly where he came from. Korea, I'm going to make it up. Sorry.
Okay.
Very, very good pitcher. ERA was in the ones, a 1.6. Not a big strikeout guy, but maybe he is in it. Maybe he's Imanaga. He's
that's what I was
old.
thinking.
Don't get me wrong. He's older than him, but maybe he's 35. So maybe he gives an Imanaga type boost. Charlie Morton, Zach Eflin, they have major league pitching. It's not like it's no-name people.
But they just don't have the guy.
They're asking all of those guys to pitch a spot or two above where they should be.
Yeah.
That's my only concern. I do think that with the roster as it stands, they can tread water. I think they can.
I'm with you.
I think they can be fine. And the difference between them being that 90-plus win team and them being fine is a couple extra arms and health.
Yeah,
and
I
think
completely
they're
agree
okay.
with you. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with the Orioles. That's definitely going to be a fun team to watch because they're young, but the pitching might make it somewhat painful to watch as well. So, all right, moving down the line, we have the Tampa Bay Rays. Chris, who do we have for Tampa?
So we've got Shane on X. He is at Shane Diggs, Diggs 88.
Hit it.
Hey, Coach's Sons podcast listeners. Shane here to share some thoughts about my Tampa Bay Rays and their upcoming season. We had an off season last year, finishing 4th in the AL East, 2 games under 500. Following, we were struck with some nasty storms, and our infamous Tropicana's roof blew off, amidst uncertainties of our team's new stadium location. I will try and stay optimistic given the hurdles we already face going into this 2025 season. And despite our fierce competitors adding key players and solidifying the title as baseball's most dominant division, I don't think we did too bad either. At the end of 2024 season, it was obvious that we needed help in the catching position, and I was pleasantly surprised to hear we landed Danny Jensen. So far, he's done well in spring, and I really hope he can return to the 15-homer, 142 OPS plus Danny Jensen from 2022. I was definitely surprised with the Ha-Sung Kim signing. We've never really had a solid offensive shortstop until he who must not be named. And after that monster was gone, I figured we would go back to the status quo until some of our minor league hotshots were ready, like Carson Williams. But no, we went out and got a good shortstop with decent upside. Our pitching staff is beasts, and we have a good problem with our current 6-man rotation. I think this group can be as good or better than the 2020 crew of Morton, Snell, Glasnow, Yarborough, and Chirinos. Our big southpaw, McClanahan, is back, and he's got some heat behind him with Baz, Bradley, Littell, Pepio, and Rasmussen. Pete Fairbanks will do as usual, hopefully, and I'm excited to see if Uceta can repeat his dominance in our pen. All that being said, I hope we don't have too many rainouts or scorching hot games at Steinbrenner this year, and I think we'll finish above 500 and third in the East. But the AL East is anyone's division, and it'll come down to who's hot after the All-Star break. One final thing to say, sell the team, Stu.
Hit it.
Right. We got our first trash talk to the owners. Thank
Love it.
God. Bring us all of that smoke. We love hearing that because those owners need to be held accountable. Let me tell you. First impression. Saying that this staff is going to be as good as the 2020 staff feels that's a high bar. I mean, and if he's correct, then this is exactly how the Rays figure it out. But he did at the end say, 500, which is what the Rays always seem to come down at. So I think that it's fun hearing other people's perspectives because I don't even think about this lineup. I don't think about this pitching staff, but this is a very solid pitching staff, 100%. And so we can't discount that. It is fun to hear him refer to he who must not be named. Fuck that guy, right?
Yes, amen.
Hopefully their new shortstop really fills in ways that they need. Obviously they've got Caminero over there who looks to be legit. So there's a lot of really good pieces in Tampa. As always, they have, these pieces that they find and figure out and they excel off of it. So I don't know. There is magic in Tampa, 1,000%. So I hope that the magic continues because if it does, then they can start making people worry again. But at the one point he did make at the end, which I think he is 100% correct on, the East is anyone's game, and it depends on who gets hot after the All-Star break. That's who's going to win it. And it can potentially be, okay, stick with me. If the Blue Jays don't start slow, any 5 of these teams could get hot and win the division, maybe. No, I don't think so. Blue Jays can't do it. Any 4 teams, no, I don't think the Rays can do it. Any 3 teams can get hot.
Jeez.
Sorry,
You really went.
I think the Rays are good. I don't think the Rays can get hot enough to win the division. So, but I think he is right about that perspective. So, anyways, that's my take. Chris, what are your thoughts?
I think the optimism on the rotation is warranted. They are good.
They are good.
And they are young. And you just got back your potential Cy Young caliber lefty back. McClanahan was a perennial Cy Young guy before the injury. He's back. It looks like he's got all his velocity back. I don't know, innings restrictions, stuff like that. Maybe he's fair game and they just let him rip. That works for me too. So he's at the top. Taj Bradley in his second full season now. He's going to be okay. Pepio and Baz had some really good seasons. And if you're getting... So I'm looking at Zach Littell, who thought this was going to be a Zach Littell podcast. However, in 29 starts, 3.63 ERA. If you're getting that out of in a 2.8 WAR for what it's worth, Baseball Reference.
Okay.
If you're getting that out of even your 4th starter, and now you're talking your 5th starter,
It's a good place to be.
We've got a good
It's a good place to
rotation
be,
happening,
yeah.
right? So I think that it means that the young guys who made steps forward last year continue to progress, right? Bradley wasn't a stud. He had a 4.1 ERA, but he's going to be your 2-3 in the rotation. And I think that they are primed to break out. And there's the flip side of the coin that if they don't, they're SOL, right? They're shit out of luck. So overall, I think they're in a decent spot as far as the pitching goes. I don't question the bullpen because they'll figure it out. They got that hard-throwing Joe Boyle from the A's.
Yep.
I think that was for Springs, maybe. I think they just traded him.
Yep.
If Pete Fairbanks at the back end is fine. This Uceta kid throws real hard, and he's young. Lineup is where I'm concerned.
Agreed.
Again, they're going to piece it together. Camanero's turning into a star. You've got a lot of... now, Hassan Kim is going to be out for a couple months, maybe not till May or June.
Oh, that's right.
So he's
Okay.
already hurt. They knew that going in,
That's
though.
fair.
So I don't... He's a good player, but they still have, I'll just call them, I don't even know if they pronounce them the same, but the brothers Lau, right? They have Josh Brandon. Chris Morrell could kind of play everywhere, but he's a strikeout machine. Maybe he could turn that down a little bit. Danny Jansen's a big deal, solidifies their catching spot. Now, Curtis Mead he did not have a good season last year in his limited time, but he is doing some crazy stuff in spring training right now. And I know I do a lot of eating my words.
Yes, you
but
do.
I don't really care about spring training
That's
stats.
correct.
However, he's got a 1.65 OPS
Wow. I mean, that's...
in 24 plate appearances.
That's not-
21.
I mean,
like that.
that's pretty
so,
good.
so
Pretty
like, like, think about like if he had this week, right? Like 15 hits, two double, a home run, stolen base. He's hitting 714 with slugging 9. So just think about if a guy is doing that in a week, you're like,
Yeah.
he's winning
hot.
player of the week
Yeah.
honors. Obviously, he's not going to do that for an entire season. He wasn't particularly good in his short time, but if he turns it around and he gets out of his Jackson Holiday-esque, initial calling to Major League Baseball, I think he could make a splash for them. And they have just major league players, right? They might not be your top name, but Jose Caballero, former Mariner, he kind of does a little bit of everything. He runs around. He's a menace on the base paths. People hate him. I get that. Taylor Walls, do you love him? No. Do you want to see him in the lineup every day? Probably not. But he's a solid player. He's probably going to be a bench guy. Don't forget they have Yandy Diaz at first base, aging a little bit, but they've got a lineup that is becoming more
they've got
name-friendly.
potential pieces, like you said. I think the Rays, in general, are the team that has the most question marks because we just don't know where we're going to get out of them.
Yes.
But it's the Rays, so we are safe to assume they do well because you just don't bet against the Rays doing bad. Now, could they be potential to slow start like the Jays and do a sell-off? The answer to that is absolutely yes. It's the Rays.
But
That's
they're
what they
going to
do.
win their trades.
They always win their trades, right? But they're going to do it, and they're going to win and somehow be a better team after the All-Star break, whereas the Blue Jays are going to do it, and they're just going to be a AAA team. So it's a little different.
generally speaking, they're still young. So even if it doesn't work this year, the pitchers going, Bradley's 24, McClanahan's going to be 28, Pepio's 28, Shane Baz will be 26, and Latella Rasmussen are going to turn 30, right? Caminero's only 21, Carson Williams, who should be up this year, is only 21. They have another kid, Xavier Isaac. He is 21. So they're not particularly old at all. Fun fact, I was throwing out ages of people who said I was young. I have no idea, but there is a number here for all the ages. So I should be a little bit better at naming people's ages. I just have to find him.
Okay, love it.
So
love it.
just going for, they have Eloy Jimenez too. Not that anybody should give a shit about that, but they're the Rays. Maybe they turn him into something and then they'll trade him for God knows what. You said it's 27. I was way off.
Damn, you were
anyway,
way off.
I like the Rays. I don't think I would put them any above 3.
Yeah.
In the division. And
the division's too good. The division's just
I
too
don't
good.
think they're there yet. I'm not completely convinced, but just when you start saying that about the Rays is when they show up out of nowhere.
Completely agree.
So a lot of, to your point, potential. Tons. I think they might have the most potential.
I don't think so. I think the O's have the most potential.
The most upside based on their expectations.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair. Yeah,
right.
I agree with that.
You know what the Jays have for the most part. They don't have any young guys that might break out. They either get Vlad Jr. or they don't.
Yep.
Right. We're gonna get the Orioles. Gunnar Henderson. How much better can he get? A little bit.
Yep.
Right. They do have some guys. They have Norby and things like that. But the Rays, if all these guys turn it on at the same time, which I don't expect to happen, big if. They're players again.
All right. Well, that's the Rays. So let's move on to our division pick for winners. That's the Red Sox. So we actually have two folks today, Chris. So go ahead and give the names of those, and we'll
do both. So the first
back
one,
to back.
I think you have them lined up this way. This is my friend Steve. He is at Mr. Colger on X. And then we have our friend Diddy. I do not believe he's on X, but he is on Instagram, and that's Diddy Us, like Ditti Us 33, and it's probably Didius. It beats me, but Ditti Us 33 on Instagram, and we're gonna go basically back to back. We'll let them both talk, and then we'll hash it out from there.
Sounds good.
Hit it.
2025 Boston Red Sox preview. I can't tell you one fan that isn't excited for this year. Last year, Craig Breslow took over at GM and promised so much offseason work. They did absolutely nothing. This year, ownership finally let the man spend some money. Their big signing, they bring in the right-handed bat they needed, Alex Bregman. Yes, we're paying him $40 million a year, but it's only for 3 years and he has opt-outs after each year. It's not that 6-7 year monster deal that everybody thought he was going to get. We don't need the guy until he's 37, 38. We have him for his good years. We also bring in one of the young and up-and-coming left-handed arms, Garrett Crochet. We had to get rid of some of our farm, but that's fine. The guy can strike out just about anyone, and he's going to lead the rotation this year. I'm glad that we did not trade Tristan Casas and we found pitching other ways. If they got rid of him, with the rumors circulating about Seattle and Luis Castillo, I don't know what the first base lineup option would look like. Right now, the lineup looks pretty versatile. We have Connor Wong at catcher, Tristan Casas playing first base, Alex Bregman looks to be playing second base, Trevor Story at short, and Rafael Devers says he plays turf, so he'll be on third base. Ceddanne Rafaela has been promised the everyday center fielder job. Jarren Duran will slide to left field. Right field looks like a little bit of a question mark right now. Does it fall to Christian Campbell, minor league baseball player of the year? Does it fall to Red Sox top prospect, Roman Anthony? Does it fall to Willie Abreu, who doesn't look like he'll be ready by opening day? So we will see. DH is going to be a combination of Masa Yoshida and others. But Rafaela has shown that he can play center, he can play short, he can play second, left, right, anywhere. Christian Campbell, minor league baseball player of the year, can pretty much play anywhere on the diamond. Plus, the past years, minor league baseball players of the year have shown to be awesome. Last year, Jackson Holliday, supposed to be a stud. Before that, Gunnar Henderson, stud. Bobby Witt Jr., stud. Gavin Lux, we'll omit that. Vlad Guerrero Jr., stud. Ronald Acuna, stud. Blake Snell, stud. Chris Bryant was a stud. Byron Buxton, if he could stay healthy, would be a stud. Mike Trout. Track looks good for Campbell. Let's get him up. He's got to be ready. That would give Anthony a little bit more time to get his feet wet in the minors and AAA. I think it might just work out best that way. Pitching depth is a huge plus for us this year. We have Crochet leading the rotation. Houck, last year's All-Star. Bayo, we're waiting for him to take that next step. We signed Walker Buehler for a 1-year, $20 million deal. He's going to be towards the end of that rotation. Any team would love that. We have Lucas Giolito coming back from surgery last year. We also have Cutter Crawford, who had a great year for the Sox last year, who doesn't look to be ready by opening day, but that's okay. Mid-year, Patrick Sandoval is supposed to be coming back. Plus, we have Cooper Criswell, who stepped in and threw some innings for the Red Sox last year. They have lots of depth at pitching. Andrew Bailey has done a great job with their staff. The only question with their pitching is, who is their closer? Is it Aroldis Chapman? Is it Liam Hendricks? Does Garrett Whitlock come back to the bullpen and assume the closer role? Is it by committee? We will see. For the year, I assume them to be above 500. Last year, they were 81-81, 500 on the dot. They're supposed to be better this year. Their lineup looks better on paper. I imagine 90-plus wins, pushing to first place in the division, but I could also see them second or third. Yes, the Orioles are a powerhouse, and they have a great farm for hitters. Their pitching, not so great. They lost their ace. Grayson Rodriguez doesn't even look like he's healthy, so I could see them jumping the Orioles pretty easily just because of their pitching. The Yankees lose their best player. Sorry. They are also a little bit older, so I can see them pushing the Yankees, especially if they don't stay healthy. The Red Sox have lots of depth at all positions, so if anyone does get hurt, they can fill it. Trade deadline will be super interesting this year. We will see if they are sellers or buyers. I'm hoping they're buyers. Aroldis Chapman is a huge target at the trade deadline every year, and we have him, which makes me nervous, but I'm hoping it's a great year. Thanks for having me. Super excited.
Hit it.
Hello, Andrew, Chris, and the Coach's Sons podcast listeners. This is Mike Diddy, Sox and Brews podcast, coming to you from Big Al Studios in Simpsonville, South Carolina. I co-host a very mediocre Red Sox podcast where we just like to drink beer and bitch about the Boston Red Sox. And that's what our fan group kind of does the best, right? We are very good at complaining about our team. And even though there's some positive things going on with the Red Sox, and they are a far, far better team than they were 1 year ago when you look at the build of this roster, and especially when you look at that rotation. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to be a typical Red Sox fan. Chris and Andrew can tell you all the positive things and all the hope and the glitz and the glamour of all of these signings. But for me, as a Red Sox fan, my biggest question, and only big question at all, is how does the Red Sox front office actually define the words full throttle? Because nothing about what we've seen over the last 2 years, including the last couple of months of signings and trades, has really been all too full throttle. The Garrett Crochet notwithstanding, that trade was fantastic, but is Bregman really full throttle? Is $10 million to somebody who was once suspended for domestic abuse full throttle, especially when that guy is past his prime? Is it full throttle to watch the biggest free agent go to the New York Mets and not give him a solid offer? Is that full throttle? Because I'm a little confused on what we're talking about here, because there was about 20 years where up and downs did happen, but 4 World Series championships also happened after, as we know, 86 years of none. So what changed? What happened? And what do we have to do to figure out what full throttle means? Because I'm pretty sure that Breslow's car is not getting out of second gear quite yet. He hasn't figured out how to find that clutch and get it into third, maybe fourth, finally full throttle. I don't know what that even means, but all I want is wins. So if selling our soul to Bregman, bringing that black mark to the Red Sox that already exists because of the manager, is how you win more games, fine. If I need to send a trash can, I'll do it. But I don't like seeing them tell us one thing and do another. There were opportunities out there this offseason to fix this team in a way that was fixing it for the long term, but that's a different story. I just want the wins. I'm just going to hope for the wins. I'm going to try to stay as positive as I can. I got to be positive about the fact that they're actually playing some baseball right now down in spring training, down in the Grapefruit League, but it doesn't mean I don't have my questions. I don't have my doubts. Lots of injuries already ravaging carrying this roster throughout spring training down in the Grapefruit League. Shoulder injuries and elbow injuries to pitchers, not things you want to hear. Sicknesses that are already calling for people to be out for opening day, not what you want to hear. Don't really know how long Trevor Story can stay healthy because we've been shown in recent history that doesn't last long. Will Bregman continue to be cool with playing second base, or will there be drama between him and Rafi Devers? Because again, Full Throttle apparently meant sign a star that plays the same position as the star you just signed long term. So hopefully one day I'll figure out what Full Throttle means. Right now it means that I hope this team is the right one. I would love to see a 5th World Series championship in my life. I don't think I would bet on such a thing. I don't think I'm going to expect such a thing. It could be a good playoff team. It could be another team that teases us in the dog days of August and then lets us down in September, or it could be an abysmal failure like that year Bobby Valentine managed the Boston Red Sox. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to prepare myself for. I'm just stoked that the regular season and baseball that matters is here. It is almost upon us, and I'm stoked to be back with you guys on Coach's Sons podcast. Thank you once again for having me. Thank you guys for doing all you do for baseball and for covering the sport the right way. Coach's Son podcast, I'm out. Peace.
Hit it.
All right. Thank you, Steve and Diddy. What a
Jekyll
tale
and
of two
Hyde.
stories, right? Let's just go in order, right? So we got Steve.
Yeah.
Steve was, for lack of a better term, thrilled with everything they've done. They're satisfied, maybe the word is. Satisfied with the offseason that was had.
Optimistic, for sure.
We've got Bregman, and he makes the good point is there's opt-outs after every year. Mind you, if he stinks, he's going to stay, and you're going to get a shitty Bregman. But whatever, it's the cost of doing business. You want to get your guy, go pay for him.
Yep.
So I support the move. Obviously, we've talked about we think he could be the best player in the division. Most important, we think he'd be a Cy Young candidate. Garrett Crochet. He's their ace. He's their guy. Lefty, flamethrower. They went and got him. Again, did they have to give up some minor league prospects? Sure. However, they still have 2 top prospects, 1 minor league player of the year. Love the breakdown of Christian Campbell comparing to all of the previous minor league players of the year, sans Gavin Lux, of course.
Yep.
But that's pretty good company.
It's very good company.
We've talked about it with Jackson Holiday already. That story's not to be told. So pretty high praise for Christian Campbell right now to say, I think he can turn it into something. And he's a utility type player. He can play wherever. They have a little bit of a hole in right field. Enter
Who
Christian
doesn't?
Campbell.
Yeah.
And Roman Anthony is the number 1 prospect in all of baseball. So there's now a competition between these 2 guys. What the Red Sox do, how they decide to hash that out, I have no idea, because I think in every Red Sox fan's perfect world, it is almost time to put Devers at DH, let Bregman play third,
Yeah.
Campbell play second, Roman Anthony in the outfield. It's their utopia lineup, right?
Yep.
But that would require them get rid of Yoshida, who they cannot get rid of right now. Couldn't give him away for anything. You risk pissing off Devers, who wants to play third base, to the detriment of
everybody
team, potentially. Yeah. I don't think he was that bad. But he's just not. I think he was like league average to a tad below. I don't think he was the worst. And I know you're looking that up, so give me some support that it is happening. I'll back off. However, the lineup is there. They've got good players. I like Tristan Casas, but he's an odd duck, man, to say the least. I don't know how he's received there, but if he's on, he's going to be a big-time player, big power threat, and a lot of this hinges on Trevor Story somehow. Jarren Duran, by the way, breakout season last year, one of the best players in baseball, arguably. They've got a good lineup. So lineup's there. Rotation, there. They're deep. Crochet, Bueller, hell, Lucas Giolito. Again, we're going to assume full health. He's your 5 or 6 starter. Even if he's half health, Lucas Giolito, if you're getting him as your 5 starter, I'm in good shape. Or you're in good shape. Bayo, Hawk, they've got guys all over the place, and they still have a good farm system. They have guys coming through. My mind has not been changed. Oh, don't forget, they have my favorite player, your least favorite player, Vaughn Grissom. What a difference he's going to make this year. No, I'm joking. We always have to put him in there if we can.
That's ridiculous.
But I'm hard-pressed to think that they're going to be anything other than great. They do have Aroldis Chapman in the back end of the bullpen. That's an improvement over last year. As much as the guy's a piece of shit, he throws the ball really hard, and it's unfortunate that it comes to that. But that's the deal. Do you want to comment on Steve's, or do you want me to give my opinion on Diddy's part?
Okay,
How do you
hold on,
wanna do this?
real quick, because I did look it up. Devers' fielding abilities.
Go ahead.
Okay. Guess how many years he's led in errors at third base?
He's led in error. I don't know. 3.
Nope. Higher.
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead. How many?
7.
Oh,
Yeah.
Out of how many? I mean, he hasn't played
Yeah.
that long, I don't
Since
think.
2018, he's led 24, 22, 14, 22, 14, 19,
so is
12.
your number just based on errors?
Well, okay, so that's errors. But then if I look up basically fielding percentage,
Yeah,
leaders,
that-
right?
okay, that's fair.
There's 18 names listed. Our boy Bregman
At third base?
Third base.
Okay,
This
go
is
ahead.
third base.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Bregman's 6. His fielding percentage at third is 9.6.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
Where's Devers?
Out of 18 guys?
Yep.
He's going to be 18.
He's 18. Yeah,
Okay,
he's last.
all
He's dead
right.
last. Devers is bad.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know he was that bad.
Yeah,
I thought
okay.
I thought he was below average, but not the worst.
No, he's the worst.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
He needs to be the DH.
No, I'm just,
Okay.
like, well, 1,000%. He needs to not play third base anymore.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
And it's not
And
and
right
right away.
away.
It's going to happen. Yeah. So, you're right. Best case scenario is somebody convinces Devers to stop hurting the
David
team.
Ortiz got to get in that boy's
David
ear.
has to get in that
We got
guy's
to
ear.
get Big
Absolutely.
Poppy talking to him.
Poppy's got to make some moves because Devers is a liability. Bregman is not. Bregman's a Gold Glove winner at third, right? He should be playing third, not Devers at all. Like, and the fact that he might go to second, that's so dumb. Anyway, okay, so you can go on to Diddy. Well, no, you know what?
Go ahead. Give it.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I agree with a lot of the perspective of your buddy. There is a lot of potential here. The Bregman thing. Look, he could be great this year, and you're gonna be like, Wiz worth every damn penny.
I do
right?
not care. Go
Every
get
damn
my
penny.
guy. It's
Yeah,
not my
exactly.
money.
And so I think that move is has the biggest potential for payoff because of the range of variability. The pitching, I think Crochet is gonna be awesome. Like,
Yeah, I don't think I agree. I have no, and I'm gonna eat so much crow, and we're probably gonna eat so much
Still.
crow. But we are so high on him. I can't be.
Yeah.
You can't tell me right now and be like, he's okay. Like, no, he
No,
is.
shut
He's
up.
a top
Yeah.
5 pitcher
Yeah.
of the American League.
100%.
And if I'm proven wrong, so be it.
Yeah,
but I don't.
Look,
I can't.
This
believe
pitching
it right
staff already overperformed last year, and they didn't lose a single guy. Now they have 2 good pitchers. Bueller is still a very good pitcher. I think I believe in what he can do, especially now that he doesn't have to be the ace. He doesn't have to carry. Like, none of these guys have to carry this rotation, so all of them can just pitch their game. That's a scary thought. So I think the Red Sox are. I've talked about it in nauseum, but I definitely. What was your buddy's name? Steve.
Steve,
Yeah,
yes.
I think that he has the right perspective of the 2 that we heard. Okay, Diddy. Look, love the guy to death, and I understand what it's like to be a naysayer of a team because you've just been hurt so many times. I get it. Bregman could be washed. Chapman, he could be the next Kimbrel, like, as far as like just falling off a cliff. There are question marks. There are things to be concerned about. Absolutely. But I do feel like maybe they should just like get outside and smell the roses occasionally, because there's a lot of potential here. So, hopefully he is, a few games in the season, he'll be like, okay, this is clicking. I can be positive for a little while, but because I do think that man, I don't know. It's weird hearing such distinct different viewpoints.
I'm glad he liked the Crochet deal. So we'll give him credit for that.
He
did
liked
that.
the one.
He
Yeah,
did
okay,
like
that's
that.
fair.
But I guess the argument I have there is, what's the alternative? You don't get Bregman, and then you're even more mad. So
Yeah,
if
I don't disagree. Yeah.
And I don't think he's harping on it, but I guess he was just harping on the full send quotation.
throttle, yeah.
Or whatever it was. Excuse me, full throttle.
Same thing.
And I would disagree in that Bregman paying Alex Bregman $40 million a year is full throttle in the way of, we had to pay him this to get him to come here.
Yeah.
Because if we didn't get Alex Bregman, or we'll just say another highly
Yeah. He brought up Soto. Like, they were a part of the conversations. They just don't want to pay that much fucking money. That was so much money.
Only one team was going to get him.
No,
there was a lot of other
the Yankees
stuff.
and the Mets outbid. Okay, good. But and the Red Sox
I don't
want to pay that.
Their
and that's
offer may
fair.
have been low, but I don't think their offer was
embarrassing low.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the word. Like disrespectful. It wasn't like you got laughed out of the room. They were still in it, right? They were in it till the end. It wasn't like, oh, the Red Sox made an offer and then it comes out they offered them $300 million. You're like, what? Right? It wasn't that type of move. So I think I don't remember the series of events, but I think Crochet came after Soto. I think all this stuff.
I believe so, yeah.
And I know, obviously, Bregman came well after Soto.
Yeah.
So I think it was, shit, we missed out. And then it was like, it's same old. Because that would have been the sentiment if they did nothing. They missed on Soto, and then it was like, okay,
Crickets.
now we signed Chapman, we signed Patrick Sandoval, right? All the other guys that they signed, right? If those were. But they went and got Crochet via trade. They gave up guys that aren't going to be Major League ready for 3 years.
Yeah.
So we'll figure it out.
We already talked about their two studs.
And they didn't even give them up.
Yeah.
And to Steve's point as well, there was that Casas for Castillo rumor was big. Like that was happening.
Yep.
That was very close to being a done deal. So getting Crochet and then those few additional signings, like Walker Buehler being not the marquee, but another big signing for them, made them not have to leave a gaping hole at first base to fill the other need. So now they still have a fantastic rotation, in my opinion. It's super deep.
Yep.
And they didn't really have to give up any major league talent. They lost Tyler O'Neill, Kenley Jansen, Danny Jensen, who's like a backup split time, and a few Pavetta they lost, but they're fine in the rotation. They didn't really lose that much that they weren't able to replace right now.
I mean, I do think the one question mark is closer, right? Who's going to actually do that? They have to figure that out. Now, if they were able to get a stud closer too, it wouldn't even be a question.
But the Red Sox will be active all season.
Agreed.
So, and they're going to be in a spot to make a move, and they will do it. I hope, and I don't think that's the gripe. I think. Is
it enough is the question, which I understand because the Yankees are spending a lot of money. The Orioles are looming and scary.
But they had a good team last year.
I know, but I understand as a Red Sox fan, it's tough to be like, well, look how good these other teams are. Is Bregman and is Aroldis enough? Like, no,
maybe not.
Right, but I understand the fear that's there because of how good the other two teams have been the last few years. So that makes sense. I'm just trying to say, hey guys, guess what? Be positive because you have a lot to be positive.
Yeah,
for.
and I think I agree. I think they have a lot to be positive about. They over-exceeded last year. Last year at this time, that sentiment was different. They were not going to be good.
We thought they were going to be the worst.
They were the worst team in the division.
Yep, agreed.
And they were far from that. They much exceeded everybody's expectations. And now they added to that firepower. They didn't lose anybody super
noteworthy.
notable,
Yep,
in my opinion.
Agreed.
Maybe Kenley Jensen is better than Chapman. That's to be desired.
But he's been on the downward decline for a while.
But I'm just on a guy for guy. They didn't get worse at any position.
Not at all.
So I don't change my opinion at all about what happened or how I feel about the Red Sox.
Okay, I'm with you. All right, so Yankees. Chris, who do we got for the Yankees?
We have our buddy from last year. We have Jeremy Darnell.
Whoop, whoop.
Spelled kind of how it said, at Jeremy, Darnell 11. That's on X, and my friend Sean McHugh, and we have his Instagram. It's at Sean G McHugh, MCHUGH 815, and we're gonna go back to back again, and we'll see what happens.
Hit it.
Last season, the Yankees won 94 games, the AL East crown, and the club's 41st American League pennant. But the season ended on a sour note, losing to the Dodgers in 5 games in the World Series. The same base running and fielding errors that were prevalent in the regular season became terminal in the World Series. So the Yankees entered this offseason looking to build a more balanced team. Juan Soto, he of 8 WAR. Well, he was a free agent, and the Yankees put a lot of emphasis on signing him, but didn't. He ended up with the Crosstown Mets, signing a 15-year, $765 million deal. But the Yankees did pivot quickly and signed free agent pitcher Max Fried, first baseman Paul Goldschmidt, and then traded for Cody Bellinger and Devin Williams. looking at the lineup and the team in general, the outfield will be really strong. Aaron Judge will be back in a colossus in the middle of the lineup. And when paired with Cody Bellinger and Jason Dominguez, should be an above-average outfield for the Yankees. On the infield, Paul Goldschmidt replaces Anthony Rizzo, who was a below-replacement player last year. And then Jazz Chisholm, who came over midway through last season, will shift from third over to second and will pair with Anthony Volpe at short to create a pretty good keystone. Third base is still kind of a hole. And honestly, the Yankees entered spring with a three-man competition between utility man Oswaldo Cabrera, perpetual prospect Oswald Peraza, and the husk of DJ LeMahieu in that competition. Of course, LeMahieu got promptly injured a day after his spring debut, so who knows. Catching, Austin Wells is a solid young player, but kind of still looking for a backup to emerge at that position. And another hole to start the season at least will be DH, where Giancarlo Stanton is out with tennis elbow and not one, but yes, both of his elbows. The rotation looks strong, of course, led by Garrett Cole at the top, and now Max Fried coming into that two spot, followed by Carlos Rodon and Clark Schmidt, who was really good and about 15 starts last year, coming in with in the four there. But the back of the rotation was going to be filled by Luis Hill, the reigning American League Rookie of the Year, but a lat strain has him on the shelf for about 3 months. So I would look to see either veteran Marcus Stroman grab that spot or maybe even the younger Will Warren. The bullpen will be strong. Devin Williams is a stud closer, of course, and Luke Weaver really looked like a shutdown guy and should be really good in a setup role. And the rest of the pen will be rounded out by power arms like Ian Hamilton and Fernando Cruz, who came over from the Reds. And, of course, those are always going to be paired with the Yankees' reclamation projects like left-hander Tim Hill and some guys like that. All in all, another AL East title and a potential pennant seem within the Yankees' grasp. But ownership's reluctance to push all their chips in, like, say, sign Alex Bregman to fill an obvious need at third, well, that reluctance may make attaining those goals a little harder this year in what proves to be a pretty tough American League East.
Hit it.
The New York Yankees are coming off their first World Series appearance since 2009, and there's plenty of excitement surrounding the Bronx Bombers heading into the 2025 season. The biggest headline of the offseason was the departure of Juan Soto to the Mets, a tough loss for the Yankees on the surface. But instead of sinking all their resources into retaining one superstar, the front office responded by making a series of aggressive moves to build a deeper, more well-rounded team. They signed former NL MVP Paul Goldschmidt to bolster the lineup. They handed a record-setting contract to two-time All-Star and World Series champion Max Fried, making him the highest-paid left-handed pitcher in MLB history. And in one of the most intriguing moves of the offseason, they traded for another former NL MVP and World Series champion Cody Bellinger. And to shore up the bullpen, they dealt Nestor Cortez and prospect Caleb Durbin to Milwaukee for one of baseball's premier closers, the airbender, Devin Williams. On paper, this team looks better than last year's squad, but as always, there are plenty of questions heading into the season. Can the Yankees finally find consistency at third base? Oswaldo Cabrera, DJ LeMahieu, and Oswald Peraza are all in the mix, but injuries and inconsistency have been concerns. Can top prospect Jason Dominguez overcome his defensive struggles and lock down the everyday left field job? Will Giancarlo Stanton stay healthy enough to be a true power threat as the DH, and maybe even help out in the outfield? Unfortunately, injuries are already making headlines 3 weeks into spring training. Stanton is dealing with pain in both elbows and will start the season on the IL. Luis Hill suffered a right lat strain and will miss at least 3 months. LeMahieu has a left calf strain and will be sidelined for a few weeks. And now Garrett Cole is undergoing tests on his right elbow, and there's concern the two most dreaded words in baseball could be in his future, Tommy John. The Yankees will need to embrace a next man up mentality early in the season. But after a year that ended with a World Series berth, fans have every reason to be optimistic. The roster is deep, the talent is undeniable, and if they can stay healthy, the Yankees are primed for another championship run. However, the latest news surrounding Cole has the entire fan base holding their collective breath. At this point, being cautiously optimistic might be the better approach as we enter the 2025 season.
Hit it.
Ooh. You know what? There's very few things that give me more joy than Yankees tears. I will say it was both of these reviews are really well done, and they both kind of said the same thing. We have a great team, and they've gotten hit with the injury bug already. And I don't want to jinx them. That's not true. I do. I'm getting a lot of 2024 Braves feels from these guys. They're losing their studs. Like, at the beginning of last year, we're like, the Braves are going to be amazing. The only thing that can stop the Braves are injuries. And the Yankees are the same. And the fact that we're already talking about them losing the Rookie of the Year candidate, the good chance they're going to lose their stud. One of their biggest bats has elbows problems. That's bad. And we're already talking about this now. This isn't potential injury.
This is real.
We're not going to talk about fake injuries. We're talking about real life, and that's right now. And so, I hate it. I don't hate it for the Yankees fans. I empathize with them because I did it last year. That sucks. Hopefully it doesn't continue for them, because if it does, then it can be a really depressing thing, and you're going to backdoor your way into the playoffs and get your ass beat in the playoffs like we did. That's I think worst case for the Yankees, if I'm being honest. Right? They're just a really good team, so I understand why they're cautiously optimistic. So that's kind of where I'm at.
So I'm going to make a point later, and it's going to kind of start now. However, Fried, they didn't have Max Fried last year, right? They have only Garrett Cole. So now, correct, sure. I guess I'm talking just from an ace type level
That's fair.
perspective.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
So the way it seems, I'm not in the predicting injury game. However, it doesn't look good. So I'm going to now assume that Cole's done.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
They're getting second opinions. Second opinions are never good.
That's never good.
He's already put off the surgery.
He put it off last year, right?
2 years ago.
Okay.
Whatever.
It's very
he put
recent.
it off.
Very
He
recent.
had elbow issues. He rested or something, and then came back. He had a fantastic year last year. Like, nothing indicated,
right,
at least to the public, that he was injured.
Yeah.
And now here we are, not looking good. It feels like it's going to be you need to get this or nothing's ever going to get better. So we'll see how that goes. However, you could almost just say we're going to replace Fried with Cole 1-for-1. I don't love that thought, but I'm just saying.
Other way around. You replace Cole with Fried.
You get this. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was exactly what I said. That's exactly what I meant. But so that doesn't help, right? Because Fried's supposed to add to what you had. But I guess I'm saying in terms of treading water from a rotation standpoint, that's a fair comparison.
Again,
maybe.
going back to the Braves last year, Strider got hurt, right?
Yeah, and then Sale
was the guy.
Cy Young.
Yeah, that's why we limped into the playoffs, because we still had an ace.
So I think
they still have an ace.
Yes.
So they can still play well.
Losing Heel hurts. They do have. I mean, they're going to be relying on Stroman a little more than they probably wanted to.
Yeah.
Not probably more.
It's
than
okay. He's a starter.
Rodon's going to have to be, have another solid season. I think he was good last year. He had a 2 ERA, 3.96. He was fine. Record was better than 16-9. So if this was like 2009, you'd be like, wow, he should be the Cy Young or something.
Right.
But anyway, Rodon, Clark Schmidt's going to have to step up. So you're more so down the line because of the Cole injury. It gets felt all the way down the rotation.
Yeah.
So, and they both said it. It's nerve-wracking. It's not a good spot to be as a fan, because you go in thinking, oh, I got Cole Fried. What do we say? You need a two-man. You get your 1-2. You go to postseason series. You feel good.
You feel really
right? You
good.
can figure it out for game 3 and all that. But now you're down to Fried, most likely, and it hurts. And they could go get another guy. They very well could. There's guys available. We'll see what happens. From just the overall roster construction standpoint, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Because I know they weren't ever going to say this. Would you rather one player who could provide 7.9 WAR, or 4 players that could provide 8.4 WAR?
Oof. I know where this is such.
Yeah, you know where I'm. No, this is a very pointed question.
This is a fun question too, because, like, as a fan, do you want your teams to be like studs and duds? Like, I've got 2 studs and everyone else sucks, or do I want my team to be equally yoked or all the way around to equal this? To be honest with you, I think as a fan, you want the one guy to be that good, because that's the jersey you wear.
Because if you didn't, my next question is, what if I told you the 4 guys cost a cumulative $72.9 million and Juan Soto costs $51 million?
Right. Wait, how much?
Yeah, you heard right. He's $23 million less than the other 4 guys and the 4 guys I'm speaking of directly are Bellinger, Goldschmidt, Fried, and Devin Williams. All of their contracts for this season.
Well, I would 1,000% take Soto.
That might not be this year. All I did was take full contract numbers, divide them by number of years left. That's all I did. So 15 divided by 765 for Soto was $51 million.
Yay math.
Correct. And that doesn't even account for it wasn't a ton, but they lost Nestor Cortez, 2.6 WAR. They lost Glaber, 1 point something WAR, 1.8, 1.5. And technically Clay Holmes, he was a closer.
I mean, in the end, I'd have Soto over the 4, to be honest with you.
And this is just arguing the point of like, okay, we didn't have to pay that much for Soto. He's just one guy. Well, it's like, well, you could have got Soto and still got Fried and paid $12 million more than and had them both.
Yeah, I would have much rather
and
be
you
in
would
that
have benefited
situation.
more, right? So and have. I don't know. I guess that's going to remain to be seen, because when you think about it, Bellinger's going to have to protect Aaron Judge.
Has to.
It's not Juan. And Juan Soto wasn't protecting him either.
Right.
But you have more opportunity in front of him. You don't have the on-base OPS, the on-base percentage of Juan Soto drawing a walk, doing this, doing that. Now, I think Volpe's going to take some steps up as far as offensively, last year being his first full season. Yeah. There's a lot of that can happen. The Goldschmidt thing, I can't get behind it. They swapped out guys, and he might be. He had a 1.3 WAR. That's not worth $12 million.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know if they're just thinking home. And Devin Williams' impact. This isn't to take away anybody's impact. Devin Williams is a top 5 closer in Major League Baseball.
That's great.
So
Fried, great start.
Yes,
yeah, great starter.
So Devin Williams closing out games, it fills holes. So basically, they just said, "Hey, we're going to take our chance with Jason Dominguez." And maybe it works. Yeah. Maybe they say, we're going to take our chance with Dominguez, dropping fly balls all over the goddamn place out there. And we're going to fill up holes, because that's what they did. Yeah. Right? They still did Bellinger. Now, if Goldschmidt doesn't work out, they put Bellinger at first. That doesn't, he loses some of his value because he's a good fielder.
Think about this, though. Flip zone, if Goldschmidt can play decent, even though he's elderly, just get on base, right? They're all ifs.
But
if Bellinger is 3/4 of his MVP level, like the Yankees could be if Fried is healthy all year. There's a lot of potential there still, but I understand the argument, and I do think that I'd rather have the one stud, because you know what you're getting out of that. Whereas if you have to build up all of that WAR with 5 different players, that's not as dependable. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Yankees for sure. I do think that they are a team trending the wrong direction. And I think your flip-flop on who you think is going to win the division is proof of that, right? So,
yes.
Okay. Speaking of that, do you want to make one more point?
I have one more question.
Okay.
This is fire. I don't want any explanation. We named our... Did anything change first or last?
First or last, nothing changed.
Okay. Give me 2, 3, 4.
Ooh, okay.
Fill out the division.
Now that I've listened through, that has changed a little.
Okay.
So it is Red Sox, Orioles, Yankees, Rays, Blue Jays.
Okay.
Yeah. So that I would have had the Yankees, Red Sox 1-2. Now I've even dropped them under the Orioles at this point.
I'm going Yankees 2. Everything else. So Red Sox, Yankees, Orioles, Rays, Red Sox. That's
Okay.
it.
So the only thing we differ on is the Orioles and the
2-3.
Yankees. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Which here's the deal. If the Orioles pitching staff
Either
is
way,
as bad as we
it
think
could
they are,
flip-flop.
it could flip.
That's where
for
I'm
sure.
at. I think the Yankees have more proven guys that could step up. They can absorb the loss more. If the Orioles lose Grayson Rodriguez, my hypothesis here or my explanation, if the Orioles lost Grayson all season, they can't recover. The Yankees can be fine. They're not as good. They're not World Series Yankees.
Yeah.
They could be fine without Garrett Cole. The Orioles cannot do that.
No,
That's my take. They're a better team.
That is
They have
definitely
the best player in baseball, top 3.
Yeah. I mean, that is a fair argument.
That's it.
The divisional previews are brought to you by Chinook Seedery, the best seeds ever. Use our promo code CoachesSonsPod at checkout to get 10% off. On to the show.
Love it.
Build out a baseball community, and that's just what I want to be a part of. So if you can, please go follow everyone that helped us today. All of their tags will be in the show notes, so give them a follow on X, Twitter,
Instagram.
If they have YouTubes, go there, like the Buds and Blue Jays. Please show them all the love you possibly can because they have done us.
Yes.
So, again, thank you all for listening. Until next time,
Now I'm Chris.